The citizens of Fannin County have elected Dane Kirby to be the sheriff again here, 54.7%, with several candidates in the race, and this will be your third term?
Starting my third term, correct.
Okay, now I want to have a little fun here, and I don't even know if I want to have fun but get in trouble at the same time, right? I don't want to change now, right? So now we're going to actually bring into the conversation Sheriff Stacy Nicholson. Now, I may get in trouble for this, but I'm going to roll the dice. District Attorney, who's more trouble? Dane Kirby or Sheriff Nicholson?
Oh, you are going to get in trouble, Brian.
Let's go with that. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. And I thought this was going to be a nice interview.
It is.
She can handle this.
Just check it.
She can handle this.
In fact, I told him last night we were going to be up here, sitting here, and he probably knows that I'm going to do something. But you work within. How does it feel knowing that you're going to continue to work with this sheriff here in Fannin County as a district attorney? That's important, and I don't think our viewers out there sometimes know the inner working between the district attorney's office and some of the investigative units and your sheriff's units. How important is that?
It's huge, because when you look at the cases that come into the district attorney's office, what we get, or the majority of what we receive, is coming from law enforcement. And the sheriff's departments in each one of the counties are the primary agency that are bringing us those cases that we're going to prosecute. Of course, we deal with the other law enforcement agencies, but having a good working relationship with your sheriff is hugely important, because if we didn't have that, then we would come to a standstill.
Pay attention, Sheriff Nicholson. No, it's a joke. I'm going to be in so much trouble this afternoon. Dear friend, let's talk about this, okay? In the campaign, and I thought it was a very worthy, something obviously very worthy to discuss with our young people in Fannin County, and some of the things we struggle with prescription pills illegally being sold, just one thing after another. Talk about, both of you, just get in here a little bit, about eradicating drugs in Fannin County and what we're up against in Fannin County and how's it going. Go ahead, Sheriff.
Well, you know, like you say, we've talked about this a lot during the campaign. I've not really had as many opportunities or as much time to go in as much depth and detail about it as I would like to. We've talked a lot about how we do things, but we've not really got to talk just a whole lot about why we do things the way we do. We have our sheriff's offices who have the authority to work drug cases and who do work drug cases. And you have your drug task force serving kind of as a force multiplier, working in conjunction with those. And, you know, that's kind of the way we do it in all three counties. Each sheriff's office kind of dedicates as much time as they can to working individual drug cases and filtering what they need to onto the drug task force for them to work as well. What do you want to talk about here just exactly?
I want to talk about, you know, I'll tell you what, let me bring you into this. The district attorney is the Appalachian Judicial District, so for you, those out there, that includes Pickens County, Gilmer County, and Fannin County. Talk about the importance of the drug task force, District Attorney Sosebee, what the importance is. I mean, there was some discussion and pulling out of it in Fannin County. You do plan to maintain staying in the drug task
Sure
force
we do.
as the sheriff.
Yes.
What's the importance of the drug task force for eradicating drugs in all of North Georgia?
Well, what we have here is the Zell Miller Mountain Parkway Drug Task Force, and the task force basically, you have a control board, which is comprised of all three sheriffs, the district attorney, as well as a member at large. The importance of having the task force, as Sheriff Kirby had said, is essentially it is a multiplier for the law enforcement agencies out there to be able to work drug cases. When you're talking about working drug cases, you are talking about people who are moving in particularly larger amounts of these illegal substances. And you're not going to see a drug dealer that's going to say, okay, well, there's the Gilmer-Fannin line, or there is the Gilmer-Pickens line. I'm not going to cross this imaginary line. And what the Drug Task Force allows the law enforcement agencies to do is they can work in this multi-county circuit, but it brings all of the law enforcement agencies together through the sharing of information, through intel, and they can work across county lines without having to worry about those jurisdictional issues. It is a huge resource for us in this area. And one of the things that I really like about the task force is this is not funded with solely local funds. There is contributions that come in from the counties, but we receive grant funding through the CJCC, which allows us to take state and federal funds and use it for our community locally, but it is not necessarily coming from our county coffers to fund having that resource to us.
Sheriff, obviously, I just say like this: I can't stand anything about drugs. I mean, it just really bothers me. And to know that you have a good working relationship, and that's why I say jokingly with Sheriff Nicholson, he endorsed you and supported you during your campaign, and you have a good working relationship with the surrounding sheriffs of Fannin County, where you're communicating, and like she said, drugs crossing the line. Mm-hmm. And so you have a good relationship with all the sheriffs in the surrounding counties? We do, and both inside and outside our circuit too. Sheriff Mason up in Union County is a big ally. I've known Mac for a lot of years. We bounce cases back and forth between each other, even though it's not inside our jurisdiction, our judicial circuit. We do still work a lot of cases together. What are some of the challenges? I want to start with you on this, but then I want to go to something that you brought up during the campaign and why I have the district attorney here that I don't think gets enough airtime, and we don't talk about it enough. But before we do, how is it working with two states bordering you, Tennessee and North Carolina? What's the challenge in trying to eradicate drugs when over here's North Carolina and over here's Tennessee? Right. What challenges are you up against there? Well, of course, the state lines present somewhat of a challenge, but we have good working relationships with both those counties that border us, Cherokee and Polk County, Tennessee. We know the drug investigators in both those counties. My investigators do. Our drug task force agents even have those same connections as we do. So those state lines are not, they don't make things impossible. They just kind of change the way you have to do things every now and then. You brought up something. I'm so glad you're with us during the campaign. Again, I do not think we get to talk about enough is with the internet, and the one thing is we are still in beautiful downtown, small Fannin County, but that does not exempt us from internet crime, right. Fraud, people stealing identities, right. Those kind of things. You talked about those kind of things during the campaign that we don't see, feel, and touch, but are affected by so many citizens of Fannin County. Tell us a little bit about how that crime rates went up that you've had to deal with. It really has, Brian. It's become very popular. It's probably very profitable for a lot of people that are doing it. I think that, sometimes it's really hard to tap into those organizations and those individuals even that participate in those crimes because a lot of this stuff has roots that are traced back overseas. A lot of these people that participate in these crimes really make sure and cover all their bases before they get started. I can remember one particular case when it wasn't long after I got elected when a lady had called and was telling about what she had been presented with. And of course, the people will give you a callback number and you can call them back and talk to them. And normally they will, have 4 or 5 different conversations with their victim. And this particular lady was concerned because they said they were coming to her house and they knew her address. So I made the decision that I was just going to call this guy and pose as the lady's son and just try to get some more details and find out what was going on with this fella. And I did that for a few minutes on the phone with him, and I finally came clean. And I figured out at that point that really about all we really had was just a bluff. So I thought I would bluff him a little and let him know that we know who he is and we're coming after him. And he laughed at me on the other end of the phone. He said, "You don't know who I am. You don't know where I am. You will never find out who or where I am. Goodbye." And he was right. He was. But he didn't mind one bit letting me know the way things really were. You thought you knew where. But that's the internet. He knew that he had already covered all his bases and there was no link to him. So that's what we're up against here, and that's what really makes it so aggravating. Now,
sometimes we do tap into these things on a little bit smaller level than that, and have some success in working them. I can't remember exactly how this particular one came about, but we ended up arresting a young lady from south of here, we'll say, with multiple credit cards in her possession and debit cards in her possession in different people's names, and she even had a ledger, a logbook with some information written in it. So she was in the business.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that case is still pending currently. So, you know, there's a variety of different ways that people participate in those crimes, and it's really scary. It is. With the modern technology and the modern age, I know these credit card companies and people like that, they try to put all the protections in place that they can, and they've had some success there, but you know, even though it may not be the card holder or the account holder that ends up taking the lick in the end, somebody's still the victim.
You know, just yesterday I got a call from the bank that said that my bank card had been compromised. Now, my first thought was, you mean I have a card worthy of being compromised? But then, you know, that was my first thought. That's the joke. Get the joke, all right? God, I mean, where's my drum roll over there, Lonnie? But second of all, that's happening all the time. Let me bring you into this, District Attorney Sosebee. Going across 3 counties, what are you seeing? Because we get emails all the time saying, hey, I got a call. The IRS says I owe them money. The IRS does not call and tell you that. Or I got a call that said, you know, my payment didn't go through or whatever. What are some of the challenges that you're seeing, and maybe we can help some of the folks at home to be aware of that are going through the district attorney's office? It has to be a daily thing. It's starting to happen.
It is, and it's frustrating. Growing up here, and I mean, I'll just say, you grow up and you don't lock your doors at night. You don't lock your car. I mean, we are a small community. We've had the very fortunate of being isolated and where we're at. With the internet, there is no isolation. It doesn't exist. I mean, we're connected with the entire world, but the flip side of that is the entire world then has access to us. You know, I've gone around into the schools and I have talked to the kids about social media awareness and internet. And one of the things that I keep preaching to my own kids at home is you can't be friends with someone on the internet that I don't know. And they get really frustrated with me because I want to know the kid and I want to know their parents. And they'll argue with me and say, well, you know, the boy that wants to be friends with me is only this 9-year-old and he lives in Michigan. And I said, you don't know that. You don't know. This could be a 40-year-old bad guy that is, you know, sitting, you know, 50 miles down the road that wants to come hurt you. You can't do that. And what I preach to them is bad guys don't wear a sign that say, I am a bad guy. But I think that...
Put the shirt away. Sorry.
But I think that rule applies for all of us when we're interacting with people on the internet or on the telephone that we don't know. That we have to put aside this feeling of security that we've had being here all of these years and acknowledge that bad guys don't wear that sign and that there are people out there that want to take advantage of us. So if you're on the internet, it's being very, very careful about where you put your personal information out. If someone calls you on the telephone and poses as being from the IRS, or the other scam recently was you missed appearing for jury duty and you're going to be arrested, but if you send in X number of dollars, then, you know, we will make sure that you're not picked up by the sheriff. Following up with these types of calls before you give out your personal information is the most important thing that you can possibly do, because if these people are truly legitimate, they're not going to be upset that you're fact-checking them.
Exactly. They're not. I'm glad you said that. We want to tell you, folks, legitimate people will not get upset that you're asking these questions. It won't bother them. In fact, they expect you to, and they expect you and respect that you're doing it. Because what you said earlier, it sounded jokingly, but it was very true. They know on the other end, you don't know where they're at.
They do know that. Yeah.
And they know that. And when I talk to third graders at FetcherNews.com, I talk about internet safety. And I tell third graders, look, you're on the computer. And I talk to teachers, and in the third grade, these kids are doing 90% of their homework on the computer now.
Right.
Okay, so I tell the third graders, I say, if you get a message, you're playing internet games. We need to come back and do a whole segment on this. You're playing internet games and you get a message that say, hey, I want to join in. This is your cousin Billy. You don't know this is Billy. You need to get somebody. So thank you very much.
One thing I would like to say, Brian, just to kind of follow up just a little with where we are out here, we've kind of made it sound like in a way that these financial crimes are impossible to work and run down and to solve, but that's not the case.
Oh, I do believe that.
All
yes.
of them are not. There's some of them that do present some challenges, but we do have quite a bit of success in running some of these things down and prosecuting them as well. So people need to know that.
We thank you for telling us that, because that is true. We don't want to leave that impression that they're impossible to solve. They're difficult. I think what I wanted to say is, yes, I am upset with drugs. I don't like drugs. Yes, I do not like, there's crimes you can see. But I think a lot of times some people don't realize what you guys are up against on the challenges of the crimes you can't see.
Right.
But they can be solved. Right. Well, I'm glad, and I think the people should be out there very happy to know there's a great working relationship here in your Appalachian Judicial District with your District Attorney, B. Alison Sosebee, and your Sheriff, newly elected for another 4 years, Fannin County, Dane Kirby. And I'm officially saying that the Sheriff Stacy Nicholson, I've made that decision. She won't answer. That's right. We
need to have Stacy up next.
I'm doing this on purpose. I'm doing this on purpose so we can get Sheriff Nicholson up here. In fact, let me get in a little more trouble. I'm kindly shocked that he knows there's a camera here now. He's not. Oh, I'm in big trouble. We're in big trouble. Big trouble, huh?
Tell him we can even decorate the pavilion in purple for him.
Well, folks, I am so glad that this was a inquiry, a security inquiry, and not an investigation. Because before we came on, I was sitting here and they said they were going to ask me the questions. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. We're going to try to come here every Friday, so we're going to get to where people can just stop by. Again, Sheriff, congratulations.
Thank you, Brian.
On a win. We're going to go to a break. I'm your host, VKP. We're live, beautiful downtown Blue Ridge. I am just enjoying this. I think, Lonnie, I'm taking tomorrow off. I mean, this ought to be Friday. It is Thursday. No, Lonnie, that's not okay. I already said it. When we come back, we're going to take a couple minutes, and we want to thank Sandy Ott from the University of North Georgia for being patient and sticking around with us. But we're going to take a couple minutes, talk to a couple more shop owners here. The shops at Sycamore. We've met the owner this morning, Miss Jane Whaley, but we're going to talk to a couple more shop owners, and then we're going to get with Sandy Ott. And don't forget, North Georgia's only live online morning newscast with Kevin Hensley will be here at 10 o'clock. Kevin's already here getting ready, and he's over there with Sandy Ott. Sandy Ott is practicing, right? We're ready? Okay. Go to break.